Salutations, friends. My name is Owen Kirby, and today I'll be showing you how to set up a physics-based audiovisual system in TouchDesigner using bullet physics and my TouchDesigner synthesizer component called the Simple Synth. Let's get started. Okay, so bullet physics, pretty much you start with the bullet solver. That's sort of like the base that does all the physics calculations, and inside there you've got your objects and your whole geometry scene. So I'm probably going to be using the inside of this component to build my 3D rendering system as well. So now you can see that when you load it up, you already have two actors. One's a donut and the other one's a piece of bread. And yeah, that's cool. So all the initialization of the system starts here. You can make this simulation slower, faster, change gravity, etc. For our example, I think it'd be cool to just have these sort of bouncing balls. They bounce, and when they hit something, they make a musical sound. We could start with just this, but it's not so much fun. So we're going to save ourselves a little bit of time and yeah, just take something from the snippets. Take the instancing base. Let's look at it first. Okay, that's cool. Already though, I'll tell you that's too many blocks. We'll get to that later. There's too many blocks. Let's just have like 8. Otherwise, it's too much. So we'll start with 8. This is our instancing system that sets up our actors. I won't get too deep into bullet physics stuff. As the tutorial series continues, we'll probably set up some more complex examples, which will require me to get a little bit more into the nitty-gritty of the physics system. So let's just have like a set of 8 balls inside a cube and make them bounce around. So the size is too big. 2, 2, 2. Have it in the center. And that's too many. Okay, here it is. And we can tell it's already too high up. Boom. Now we're in the center. That's cool. -1, -1. Yeah, I said I wanted balls, right? Not blocks. So we'll sub that out immediately for a sphere. Shall I make the spheres a little bit smaller? Okay. Alright, and this, we want it to be a box. What size? 10. Okay. And let's start our rendering system so that we can see what's going on and output video and that sort of stuff. So we need a render top, a camera, some ambient lights. Okay, and now let's move it back 55 maybe. No, 35. 30. Okay, that's good enough. Except we can't see inside the box, so we'll just make it a wireframe by adding a constant material and making it a wireframe. Boom, there it is. Make it a bit thicker. Boom. Okay, let's add a light so that we can have a little bit more texture to our spheres there. Okay, that's cool. Now they're shiny. Okay, I like that. Let's see how it plays out. Okay, well, they're falling, and it seems very cool, very natural. But for what we had in mind, that's not so interesting. So I'm just going to put an output so I can see what I'm doing over here. Also, by default, by default, TouchDesigner looks for out1 as its window operator, so that's fine. We can definitely use that. Okay, so the balls. Let's look at them. They are not bouncing. So, to make them bounce, what we want is to change the sort of material properties of the object. Here we're going to have no friction, and we're going to put the restitution all the way up. Restitution is how much energy is transferred back into the system, or how much it loses, and it won't lose anything. So if it hits a wall at a certain velocity, it will maintain that velocity. And the same thing for this wall. I want it to give back all the energy it's got. No friction. Initialize the system. Get them bouncing. Boink. Cool. Boink, boink, boink. That's cool. That's super cool. Like we're already having fun for sure. That's great. Okay, now to make those make sound, we want to have access to the collision info. So we'll use the bullet solver in Chopland, which is great because I love chops. Bullet solver 1. So this is giving us the collision info. Click collision info on of all the objects, including the cube, which we don't want. So we'll point it specifically to the blocks, which are now spheres. Blocks. Okay. We'll select out the collision info, because that's what's going to be giving us our triggers for our sounds. We'll select them out. Channel names, colliding actor ID, no. Okay. There's a lot of stuff to be done here. It's super fun system. So we'll just start with that, with colliding. We'll shuffle that out by splitting all the samples. Boom. Here are our 8 channels. Thinking ahead, right? If you see this as like MIDI data, yeah, that's it. So now all our balls have stopped bouncing, and we've got essentially a MIDI velocity value of 1, as though it were sustained. So if I could translate that to a keyboard, it's as though I'm holding down the keyboard. So you can already imagine that that doesn't sound like what we sort of want. Like we don't want this to be the loudest thing possible. We want it to be loud when it hits a wall. So, unfortunately, to avoid this, we have to set up another trigger here. See how that's set to 0? With 0 attack, we're going to use the peak length to determine like the re-triggering time delay that we need. Decay to 0, sustain to 0, release to 0. See if I put sustain up. Well, I guess it hasn't triggered, but let's see what well, yeah, that'll take too long. But you don't want sustain up, because sustain means that if that stays up to 1, then it will also stay at the value we've decided. And rather here, we just want to avoid crazy triggering. We want to sort of smooth that out. So here we go. Now we've got our triggers. They're all nice. These ones aren't sustained. Yeah, but so we're pretty close passing to the synth now. It's just that easy. All right. With palette, simple synth. Here it is. So I guess now I'll mention that yes, this isn't like a full complete tutorial on how to get from A to Z, because programming this module alone took a lot of time. So these sort of tools are what will be available to my patrons. You'll also be able to buy them on Gumroad and Etsy. It's Etsy at the moment, but I'm going to set all that up. They're a bit older modules. I've looked over it recently for this tutorial, and it's all working fine. But the idea is to sort of keep progressing, improving these for these types of workflow and discovering like what's cool, like what can we do really quickly. So here we are, almost at the end. The input, again, I'll just say it's not a full tutorial on how to use a synth. It's rather, hey, look how quickly it can be done in TouchDesigner if you've got your things correctly set up. So, okay, so this takes MIDI info. That means if you plug in MIDI in shop, you can play the keyboard, that'll work. And those channels have a specific nomenclature, which is CH plus channel number. CH will be channel 1 plus channel number plus N for note. And here we'll start at note 48 up to 127. Actually, we'll do 34. We'll do 34 to 127. And I'll make it go up a seventh every time. So that's sort of the scale I chose. So we got 34, note 41, note 48, note 55. Okay, we'll plug that in. We're in the mode, let's do quad mode to start with. And let's start, let's see if that gives us some business. All right, cool. Audio device out, here we go. We can slow down the simulation. See if I can see it. Okay, so let's just do some really quick sound design. Okay, that's fine. I'm happy with that. All right, and now I'll start explaining the different voice modes, because this is where it starts to get powerful. So this is quad voice mode. It means there are 4 individual voice networks in the synthesizer. When it receives a note, it decides to which voice should it allocate that note. I can make it go up to 8. So now there are 8. You know, and there's more room for sustain. Okay. So the issue here is that, say I hit this first note, note number 34. The algorithm decides to which voice to allocate it to, over here. Which means that you don't have a lock with a specific ball and a specific channel. Right? So what we have instead is this mode, exact channels, which will still only give us 8 channels, but you can see that the triggers correspond to channels we have here. So that allows us to have essentially each ball as its own synthesizer. And this is just like a different way of doing it. Just as we've chosen to have the balls be the synthesizers, it could have been that each side of this cube is that synthesizer voice. Alternatively, if you've got like, you know, a particle simulation with like hundreds of particles going, you don't want to be making 100 synthesizer channels. That's just too much. So then you could use the voice allocation algorithm to get sort of the triggering of all these notes, but spread over 8 voices, which makes spatialization not possible at the same granularity as you have it if they're matched 1-to-1. We'll get to spatialization later, but already you know that it will be using the individual voice output of this synthesizer, which brings us also to another point of why this is so much faster and easier to set up than piping the information into Ableton. If I were to pipe this MIDI information into Ableton, I would be automatically subject to my VST's voice allocation, and I wouldn't get each individual voice. I'd get a stereo sum, which is what we're getting here. Well, now it's a mono sum. Let's start again. All right, here we go. I'll just point out this cool chorus effect. Okay. I guess I forgot to mention also that this synth is essentially based, it's sort of, hybrid Juno 60 / Jupiter 6. That's where I got my inspiration. I have a Jupiter 6, had it for a long time, and I'm using it less and less because I'm doing all this TouchDesigner stuff. But I just sort of wanted to have something similar here. So you've got multi-mode filter, all sorts of modulation. You got filter FM, which is, you know, a little bit spicy. You got cross modulation of the oscillators and 2 LFOs for stuff. So it's very much a traditional synth, right? Okay, let's keep going. What do we got? What do we got so far? Let's start with this. Maybe let's do a bit of sound design. Okay, here's something. What if we modified the sound depending on the velocity at which the balls impacted each other, collided? Great, let's do that. So we'll select the translational velocity. Okay. We don't care necessarily about which direction it's going, but we have those options, which is super cool for doing more complex stuff later. So we'll just add these together. My challenge is add. Okay, we'll shuffle that out again. Sequence of samples. All right, we also want this to be positive only. Okay. And we want it to fit in the range of 0 to 1. So I'll just make like a rough approximation. I'll say a range. Yeah, so I get pretty high, so I'll do range 30 to 1. Oh, not bad. Okay. Yeah, and we want to hold these values, because if the values are changing right as they are here, sort of creeping up and down, you're going to get what's not like a typical MIDI message, velocity sort of moving around. So we just want to replicate a MIDI message at the end. I'm just drilling that home, because that's the idea here. Yeah, like this. Okay. So now every time there's a trigger, the current velocity value is held. And now, oops, actually, it should be a bit more like this. And we're going to multiply these together. Right, okay, so we got velocity values, and we want something here to make a difference depending on velocity. So how about velocity to filter? Yeah, I like that. That's cool. All right, start again. All right, okay. So, I mean, we can wrap it up here and be like, hey, that's cool. Obviously, we can keep going, so we will. But yeah, that's it. That's the main point of this tutorial, is how easy and quickly is it to get these sort of cool interactive audio visual things to touch using these synths. What else can we do with the synth? Should I visualize the sound first? Yeah. Spatialize the sound. No. We'll make the interactivity a little bit more obvious by having the balls flash every time they hit and have it be the exact same duration as the sound. So let's look at some of the other outputs here. We've already seen the individual voice output, which we can use for sound spatialization. This is the pitch output, but more precisely, it's like the pitch output, it's like the note output, really, formatted note output of each oscillator. That's why they're not changing. This is the amplitude output. So that's a bit interesting. Okay. So, let's say we want a certain range of colors. I like to use a ramp. Get blue and yellow. And we'll have some green in there. I'll make this more yellow. Yeah, okay, whatever. This is our color range with a pretty heavy bias for green. Whatever, like this. Okay, this is our color range. We're going to use a top to chop. Then we're going to have each ball have a different color. This is something that can be used in other examples if you've got like note information. I use it all the time for like my other visualization stuff. Okay, so we'll use the pitch to look up. See, the sample rate's 480 samples per second, so we're going to want to resample that. Yeah, okay, that's good. Use the lookup. Don't need the alpha channel. And let's just have, or rather, I like this way of doing stuff because it helps me see just kind of what's going on with the colors. I'm going to invert the colors. Let's boost the brightness a little bit. The gamma. Maybe not. I don't know. Let's just make it crazy. Let's make it completely saturated. No. We'll just do it like that. That's fine. Doesn't matter. Okay, and now we got our trigger information here. Start again. We're also going to resample that. That's fine. Actually, we probably want to shuffle that. Yeah, switch all channels. Same with this. This is a technique I like to use when we're switching between two values with just like an ADSR or something goes 0 to 1. So one of the signals will be inverted and the other one will be fine. We'll multiply these against each other. So now when the value is 0, when it's not colliding, it's at its default color over here. And when it is colliding, it's at this sort of boosted, contrasty color. I should make this, I should make all of these a little bit less saturated, I think. Here. Okay, and this next one is the uninverted one, like this, like that. Both of these. Chops, and what do we got here? 8 channels, we're good. RGB, go into our instances. Oops. And RG. Oh, it's not liking that. B, O, Y. Some time slicing going on. Let's not do this. Yeah, okay, there we go. Okay, that's it. Why isn't our lookup picking up different colors? Could be a few reasons. There's also a few solutions, but maybe I do turn on one and then it cycles. Range, yes. So, okay, so I should talk about this real quick. It's not obvious, but the cycle modes are pretty important to know about when you're doing lookup stuff. Cycle is sort of how it extends the channel. So if you go outside of a range, say you're like 0 to 1, and in my case I do because like my values are 1 to 5, but I wanted to go look up 0 to 1. So if it falls outside that, I want it to loop back onto the value. So now I've set these channels to cycle, and you can see that the rest of it here, this dotted line is like the start here. And now we've got all our different colors. If I wanted to, I could even just get a little bit crazy like this. So we can make all sorts of modifications like this. Whoa, change the colors. We can make all those sorts of modifications. And we will. Let's get nicer colors. Some more colors here. Whatever, that'll be it. We'll make this even brighter. Just brighter for everyone. Yeah, it's not the best, not the worst. It is what it is. So you can play around with that, get colors you like, get a style that you like, get everything looking better. Like this brown is awful, so maybe not do that. You know. Green's not helping anyone. Okay, so that's where we're at. Let's do a bit more post-processing. Here's kind of my favorite effect. Blue. Okay. Use the render pass, and we'll try to make the balls, only the balls glow. Oops. Okay. Geometry box. Okay. Yeah, that's fine for looking at it on, I guess. Sure, we'll put the blue. Whatever, just a tiny bit. And over. Okay, so now the sounds are not spatialized, right? They're just in the center. They're doing what they're doing. Let's make it lush. So now, I've sort of gone at the end of what I thought was the essential part of this tutorial. And I'm just gonna start riffing a little bit. Just showing off maybe other things that are in the pipeline, and that if you join my Patreon, we can start diving into. modules. They just got to get a little bit of a brush up to be finished. It helps when people let me know what's working, what's not working. But yeah, so this is a reverb. Okay. Okay. So, spatialized audio now using all one. This one, the voices. Let's go from a pre-built example. Okay, I'll see you later. I'll get the pre-built example, we'll get back to this one. See you later. Hello again. Okay, so like I said, we'll start with a pre-built example. I'll go through how it works. And then you can essentially recreate it at home. I just don't want to go step by step recreating it. Okay, so this is my audio render base. It has two inputs, voices in. Here are our voices. Voices. Plop. And then what's this? TXYZ in. All right. That's velocity T. Let's just do T. What do we got? Total collisions? No thanks. So let's be a bit more precise. XYZ. Boom. Okay, and now our module is happy. I'm just going to plug it in. Actually, no, let's go in. I'm assuming, okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to plug it in. This is for the people using studio monitors. I'll put in the reverb as well. So this is for people who are listening on speakers because I've set the audio render to stereo. And then we'll go to binaural after for the headphone people. And okay, let's go. Let's just go. So we plug it in and we'll go through it. Okay, already. Do you guys see that one of the balls escaped? That's too bad. Okay. So now, I'm even going to move the camera closer so that we can really get a nice spread. Okay. Let's look at it like this. Okay. Ah. Okay, let's start again. But as you can tell, the voices are now panned left and right. So if I hear someone in the wall over there, it's on the right, it's on the left, it's on the right. I mean, it can be pretty subtle, but to me it adds a lot of depth. Like, I love this stuff. And now with the cheesy reverb. Wow. Love it. Okay, so that's for the stereo use. And we'll get to how it works. So how it works is we've got the 8 voices in. That's our mono sound source. Well, before that even, it works using the audio render chop, which has an input here for your audio. It has listener object comp, that's like your head, in this case the camera. The source object comp, which has to be a geometry object, and that's spatialized somewhere. And then it does all its fancy algorithm stuff and spits out a certain kind of output. So we've got binaural, which is in headphones, stereo, which is what I think it's set to now, Quadraphonic surround, amazing. That's if you have like 4 speakers. 5.1 surround, home theater system, so you can find that somewhere. Custom setup, custom setup, whatever you want. What's the last one? Ambisonics? Yeah, Ambisonics. Maybe, you know, if we keep going on the Patreon thing, making more tutorials, I would like to bring this into rendered VR video, and that's when the Ambisonics will be kicking in. Okay, so yeah, these are all the things. Here I've used a replicator so that for the number of voices I have coming out of my synth, I'll have one of those audio render objects split out, again with the idea that each of those balls is one object, but the balls are instances, so I have to recreate a geometry object which is populated by a donut. But if you look at it, it's moving. Why? Because it's taking the instance data, reapplying it to the geometry, and here it is, our donut is bouncing around. And then we've used a replicator for the number of voices to make that many, put them in here, and that's it. So of course, I could add some parameters to this module, such as, so the audio render is inside here. So at the top level, I could write a menu for what's the output format. We're gonna switch it to binaural, like I said I would. We're gonna recreate all the operators. Right, so like this, so I'll put the parameters on top, that'll be a module, that's the sort of stuff I'll share on Patreon. As of recording this, I still have to set up the page, but that's the idea. The idea is you join Patreon, I make these sort of tutorials, they use a lot of like ready-made modules, but you have access to them, and so we can start talking about like, well, what's helpful in these modules, what's not helpful, what sort of stuff do we want to create. Personally, where I'm at now is I'm going to be creating, so that's binaural if you're wearing headphones. Maybe make it a bit louder. So with binaural mode, if I were to be inside this cube, I could hear things as though they were behind me, which is super sweet. So back to the topic of what do I want to do with this sort of stuff? Why am I developing these tools? I think the first stopping stone at this point is, for this sort of stuff, stereoscopic 360 video for MetaQuest, that sort of stuff. Just on YouTube VR, you put it on, and you've got this immersive audio composition with a bunch of bouncing stuff, physics things happening, and just kind of have fun with that. There's a whole other set of projects that I'm working on. I guess it's the Patreon part. There's a whole other set of projects that are real-time audio-visual performance, so that'll be part of the work as well. But let's just recap. In less than an hour, it could have been much shorter if I just went straight to it and didn't talk so much. We've set up a physics engine. We've audioified each element of that scene, made it sound nice, added a bit of visual feedback, and spatialized that audio. Less than an hour. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. That's really all there is to it.